Hello and welcome to this edition of Healthy Living. I'm your host, Frank Poulin. We're here today with Dr. Nancy Welch, Acting Director of the Suffolk Health Department. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, it's good to be here.
Now today we want to talk a little bit about since we're obviously rolling into summertime, and we're in summer, not rolling into.
That's right.
And we've had a couple of very hot days.
Yes.
Now let's talk a little bit about, staying healthy in the heat.
Yeah, the first thing, a lot of times we naturally talk about drinking water. People are familiar with that, but what I found is people don't realize how important water is or even why it is. So let me preface the comments with just a brief explanation. People may not realize that 60% of our body is water.
Oh, wow.
So when we say that we need to replace water, we're talking about a major part of our body.
Yeah.
And literally almost every single metabolic function in our body, breathing, nutrition, energy, requires water.
Oh, wow.
Just in the biochemical
Yeah.
reaction. So it is a definite requirement just for life, forget the heat,
Yeah.
that we have a certain amount of
Okay.
water. And it used to be that the common wisdom was 8 glasses of water a day, and that's just for everyday maintenance.
Yeah, that's what I've heard since childhood.
Right, exactly. And the Mayo Clinic has just come out with a new study, and perhaps related to increased knowledge of metabolism, perhaps because our body weights have increased a bit in terms of average, that the recommendation now is 9 glasses of water a day for women and 13 for men.
Oh, goodness.
I have to confess, I struggle with that.
I was going to say, I got to get a few more in myself.
I struggle with that. But that is the recommendation, and that is even without the heat indexes that we're having of 102 and 105.
Wow.
So
That's
obviously,
just a basic requirement.
Correct.
Every day.
in order to breathe,
In the wintertime even, that would be.
in order to breathe, in order to get metabolism of our nutrients, of our foods, that's just for every day. But then add to it the heat that we have, and we lose heat in many ways. The obvious is sweat. We all know when we're sweating, we're losing we're losing water. But of course, we also lose it just by breathing.
Okay.
In fact, that's sort of how dogs sweat, if you will.
Okay, yeah. But
They
the
pant
panting,
because
yeah.
they are evaporating lung fluid as opposed to us evaporating sweat as a major force.
You don't really think about that
No,
in
but
the course of daily life.
But that's another way that you lose fluid, and then of course urination. So when you have the increased heat index, when you're outside and active, play, work, whatever, of course you have increased sweating. And you also have a lot of times increased breathing because you're doing all those things to try and cool your body down.
Heart rate goes up and.
Yes, you're trying to, all of that sweating and the loss from your lungs is a way to evaporate, and when it evaporates, then it takes away the heat. In other words, it helps lower your body temperature. In places such as where I did my pediatric residency in Colorado, where it's higher elevation and it's lower humidity, there's an even more danger of dehydration because it's such low humidity you don't realize you're sweating.
Oh, wow, okay.
It's almost gone right away, but you're still losing it because that's our body's natural way of maintaining our temperature.
Okay.
So in addition to that 8 or 9 or 13 glasses of water a day, you have an added need because of the loss. So the general rule of thumb is if you're out in the heat, a half a quart to a quart every hour of water, depending on the degree of energy. High energy, of course, the higher amount of water. And you don't want to drink it all at once because that your stomach just may not be able to tolerate that. So every 15, 20 minutes or so.
Take a few sips.
Take a few sips. When I retired from Army Reserve, and we used to have part of the requirement of any leadership was to stop, drink periodically so that you would have the water. So what are the things that you want to look for that might be your signs that you're not getting enough water?
Yeah.
The two main concerns, and I hope at some point it will show up on the screen, is heat exhaustion and heat stroke.
Okay.
Those are the two main dangers that you want to think about, heat stroke being the more serious of the two. And heat exhaustion, the signs of that are you're sweating profusely, you have cold, clammy Skin, because you're sweating, you're trying to evaporate it. You may have a rapid heart rate, you may be dizzy, you may even be nauseated. And what you want to do immediately is get to a shaded area.
Okay.
You want to consume water and actually put cool cloths on you. Good places where you have lots of vessels, say the back of your neck, under your arms, because you have lots of vascular flow, and so that will be picked up by more vessels and help to cool your body down.
Okay.
Heat stroke, that's serious.
Okay.
That is absolutely serious. If heat stroke, your body has sort of, it's damaged in terms of its ability to respond to the heat. So you're not sweating as much now. So if your body is dry,
that's
and
more
you're red and
sweat.
flushed, that's far more dangerous, because that means your body has lost its normal response to the heat. So that's a 911 call.
Now, are you cognizant at that point of that, or no? Would that be something someone else would have to step in and help you with?
It depends. It depends. You as an individual, you're going to probably go through a heat exhaustion period before you get to a heat stroke. So the idea is earlier intervention.
Yes.
But if you're outside in the heat, this is another good reason, and I'm glad you brought that point up, that it's really good to be with a buddy. We talk about buddies when you're swimming, we talk about buddies when you're hiking. Well, it's good to be with a buddy when you're outside, because if you're outside, you're having a good time, you're in the heat, you're maybe cookouts, maybe hiking, maybe lots of other things, you're distracted. And you're not paying attention.
Yeah, you often don't hear that, you should have someone with you just doing physical activity outdoors. It's always related to water or something like that.
And as much as beer may be a common a common liquid that people use when they're out drinking in the cookouts. Unfortunately, beer, coffee, caffeine, sodas with caffeine, they actually increase the amount you urinate. And it is true, you urinate more than you take in. So you lose water. So you don't want to do that. That's
a huge danger then. You got to make sure you got to.
So you've got to still be sure you're getting the water in. So the beer and caffeine aren't substitutes. You want to be sure that you're still getting the water in. And pay attention to that.
And now with summertime, of course, we have the heat danger, but there's also insects out during the summertime.
Absolutely.
And I know a few years ago there's a big scare of the West Nile virus or whatever from mosquitoes. Can you talk a little bit, touch upon that and how to prevent that?
Yes, I always welcome opportunities to talk about that. That is a frequent summer problem, and it's a summer problem especially here in Suffolk because we're near the Dismal Swamp. So a lot of mosquitoes, they don't care about the border of Dismal Swamp. They fly on over and say hello. So they may have a several mile radius where they fly. Currently, yes, the mosquito population, we're on the upward trend. They trap them, they test them here. So far, though, the main mosquitoes that we're seeing are those that bite other birds. But that is a prelude to down the road. That's the first step that we will see is the increase in that, the biting other birds. In other words, they're being sure that potentially the virus is more present. So then if you have those other types of mosquitoes are not all the same. And there are other types of mosquitoes that then might bite the bird and then spread it to humans. And usually we will see that a little bit later in the summer, but the fact that we're already seeing a good number of birds now, the Melanura, mosquitoes that bite the birds tells us that we're potentially having an opportunity for those viruses to be present. So what do you want to do to protect? The common things that you want to do, if you're going outside, especially if it's in the evening or hiking in the woods, you want to use DEET. The spray that...
And they're a lot more active in the evenings than they are during the day?
Different types of mosquitoes. The Asian tiger is not necessarily in the evening, and that's more controlled by reducing the standing water in your yard. For example, the plates underneath plants that people may have in their yard, bird feeders, which you probably need to clean and change on a weekly basis. So the Asian tiger, but that has been known to be a vector for disease for humans as well, does not abide by this evening kind of
Time
call.
frame, yeah.
No, it does not. It instead focuses actually during the day. They're usually low on the ground, and they are more what we call container mosquitoes. So you want to keep the absence of those containers in your yard that have the water. But the other mosquitoes that we think about that can transmit disease are more in the evening.
Okay.
And they're more not on the ground, but at a higher level. So you want to use DEET when you're out. Wearing, even though it's hot sometimes, long sleeve shirts, long sleeve pants is a big help. And you don't want to have very colorful, that for some reason attracts them. A lot of times a mistake I see people make, we have these zappers.
Yeah.
People put zappers out, right?
Remember as a kid.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's kind of cool, I guess, for kids. But people make the mistake of putting them in the vicinity where they're going to have the cookouts.
Okay.
The logic, I guess, we're going to, kill these mosquitoes coming to the cookout. But these zappers attract mosquitoes.
Really?
So you don't want to attract them where you're going to be.
Yeah, no, not at all.
No. That's a no-no. So you're going to have to listen to the zap further away.
Okay, yeah.
So you want to put that zapper, I'm sure it has an official name, but that's my name.
That's where.
You want to put the zapper away from where you're going to be.
Okay.
So it will draw the mosquitoes away from where you are.
Got it.
And put there. The other thing is, you mentioned mosquitoes, but ticks.
Okay. Yeah.
Ticks are out there and certainly a problem as well. And so there are a number of things you want to do there. One very simple thing is to keep your lawn cut.
Okay.
Because when your lawn grows, that's going to be an invitation for the mosquitoes. So you want to keep your lawn cut, and again, wear the long sleeves and the long pants.
Okay.
And DEET.
And DEET.
You can get DEET that's ticks and mosquitoes.
Really? Okay. And we didn't touch on this prior, but going back to kind of the heat and the sun, what kind of recommendations, because I know sunscreens and stuff like that, and there's
good
certain,
point.
there's some kind of spray that is good versus the bad, and
Right.
oils versus,
Well, there are probably lots of schools of thought in terms of oils, lotions, etc. But the main thing in my mind is the sun protection factor.
okay.
And wearing a cover. Wearing a hat. I don't care if it's a baseball hat, straw hat, whatever.
Yeah.
Because that certainly also helps in terms of the sun on your face. But you absolutely should use a sun protection factor.
Okay.
And generally, I don't like to see one less than 15.
Okay.
And actually move a little bit more towards 30.
Okay.
And you need to put it on frequently, because you put it on, and even though they may say waterproof, when you're out in the ocean or you're out in the water or the pool or
It'll
whatever,
wear off.
or even kids with the hose, it's going to wear off.
Okay.
So you want to put it on frequently to have the sun protection factor, and that's vitally important, not only in terms of sunburn, but we do know that the sun exposure and the sunburn is related to the risk of skin cancer later on.
Okay. And that kind of sunburn also probably factors into the heat exhaustion and possibly
Absolutely.
heat stroke as it goes on.
Absolutely. I grew up in Florida. Unfortunately, I've had my share of sunburn
Okay.
before we knew all this information.
Yes.
So, but now we know it, and we need to take advantage of it.
Okay. And is there a certain level of sun protection factor that where it kind of, because now they go up to like 100, 130.
They do.
And is that real, or is that?
I don't know. That's
Okay.
that's a good question.
All right.
I don't know, but I'm one of these who says more is not always better.
Okay,
I'm a, as my kids say, a B person, balance.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm a B person, and I like nothing less than 15.
Yeah.
30, going up to even 45 or 60.
Okay.
I generally don't go any higher than that.
Yeah.
But I know I keep it by the door going outside at our house, and
Higher than that, you become invisible to everything.
yeah, right.
It's just a
so
cloak.
you just it's developing the habit, though.
Yes.
Trying to nudge people when they go out the door. You're going outside.
Do it in the morning, part of the routine.
Put it on, right?
Yeah.
Right.
All right, well, great. Well, thank you so much for joining us
Thank
today,
you.
Dr. Welch. And thank you for joining us for this edition of Healthy Living. Stay cool out there and stay safe this summer in the sun.